This is the Hub on Hollywood. I'm James.
I'm Jamie. And we love movies. Yes, we've got this great connection right now, James, and connecting is one of the things that we are going to be talking about today. The Boston Strangler movie is coming to our area, and it's about the journalist who connected the dots of the Boston Strangler.
I see what you did there.
We're going to be talking about that and how you can get cast in the movie now, right now, this week. We want to get you cast in that, and we've got a bunch of other entertainment things to talk about today, right, James?
Yeah, that's right. So not only is Marvel's new MCU movie, The Eternals, making its premiere day release today, but also there's some new controversy regarding, we'll get into the controversy regarding The Eternals, but we are also getting into something that's not becoming so controversial, and that is the use of real guns on movie sets. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson has come out with some news regarding his own film studio production and their new policy regarding the use of prop guns moving into the future. But yeah, so we have that. We have our casting calls, and you have us right here. Not only are we on YouTube, but thank you for watching if you are. Subscribe, like, follow, but you can also listen to us on any of the major podcasting streaming services like iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Really, anywhere where you get your podcasts, we are there. And we're also on social media. We're on Instagram, Twitter, and on Facebook at Hub on Hollywood. So thank you so much for following us. But yeah, let's get right into our first topic of the Eternals controversy. So apparently, not sure if you heard about this, but the new movie, it's being released here in the United States today, November 5th. However, it was supposed to come out in some Middle Eastern countries next week. However, the news is that the movie Eternals is being banned in the countries including Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and Kuwait after Disney refused to make some cuts, make some edits to the film. The Hollywood Reporter, they're reporting that Eternals was supposed to be released in those countries on November 11th, but they've been pulled, with sources suggesting it's because Eternals has a same-sex couple and also the MCU's first gay superhero. And currently in those countries, many of those countries in that Gulf area, homosexuality is still illegal. In that area. And so the movie, any movie really with any LGBTQ characters or premises automatically gets pulled unless there are some edits that you can make. Disney reportedly refusing to make those edits, and because of that, they're going to have a little bit smaller, I guess, amounts of revenue coming in at the box office because of, like I said, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and Kuwait pulling the movies.
Right. Well, I appreciate Disney sticking to their guns on this one and not giving in. I don't believe that this is something that we should be erasing. I don't believe it's something that we should be erasing. I think that that's something that is important representation-wise, and it's something that is worth more than the money that it would bring in for Disney. You can consider that, I don't want to say, maybe it's not as extreme as blood money, but maybe in some cases it is. So that is just to say that I appreciate that Disney made that decision. They made that call, that they were sticking to their guns, that they're taking a little bit of a loss. But really, James, they can afford it. Disney can afford to take that little bit of a loss.
Yeah, and it would be very difficult actually to try to, even if they were pressured to take the LGBTQ characters out from films, this one it would be kind of hard just because for the fact that one of the main characters, one of the main Eternals, is gay in this movie, and so you can't really take out an entire character who has a big role in this film. You know, this may have been extremely hard to edit out, and maybe that's why they took the stance. But yeah, you know, we do need more representation in the movies, in the film industry, and so yeah, unfortunately they won't be getting that representation in these countries because obviously they're getting pulled. But you know, it's good that Disney is keeping it in for obviously and playing it wherever they can.
You know what, I think it's probably more likely, exactly like you said, it was way too difficult to edit it out. But you know, it's a baby step in the right direction. It's a baby step in the right direction there as far as getting the better representation that we need for all people on screen, because they are a part of the real world. They exist. They're real. So hopefully they also, I hope hopefully Disney also sees it for what it is, because it is important in that way, and not just looking at this in the business, through the business lens.
Yeah. Well, also looking at things through the business lens, we are also looking at, I guess, one of the first or one of the loudest and most prominent stars out there speaking out regarding the use of prop guns moving forward. Obviously, after the fatal shooting, the accidental shooting of a director of photography, Helena Hutchins, in Santa Fe, New Mexico. The Rock, he was interviewed by Variety recently, and he said that not only do they need to learn from the deadly shooting on the set of Rust, but they believe that he believes that there should be new protocols and safety measures, and he even went as far as saying that any projects that are created, produced under his own personal production company, Seven Bucks Production, they won't use real guns, that they'll take care of it in post. He even said something about using rubber guns. I'm not sure if you have to go as far as using rubber guns, but there are airsoft guns, airsoft pistols that look like the real thing and they behave like the real thing, but it's all just compressed air, and it can't shoot anything obviously as deadly as an actual bullet. But The Rock, again, saying and kind of being one of the loudest voices, saying that when he moves forward, any production in his, at least not all of his films, but the ones that he can create in his own production studio, not moving forward with real prop guns.
Okay, James, I didn't even know that they allowed real guns on set. Doesn't that seem like a common sense thing, that maybe you shouldn't do that? But
yeah,
this is a fake movie.
Yeah, and
these
it
movies
seems
are
like
not real. We're not shooting people. Why do we need real guns on set?
Right. Yeah. From my understanding is that there are many guns that they currently use, like say in the John Wick movies, where it uses a magazine that goes into the bottom of the handle. Those they can fake, but usually with revolvers, like those Western style pistols, they use. I'm not sure they must, but they do use real guns when they're using any revolver. And so in this case, that's what Alec Baldwin was using, and it's my understanding that that's what was also used. A revolver was used in the fatal accident that led to the death of Bruce Lee's son, Brandon Lee, when he was filming The Crow. And so there must be a way to have fake revolver guns or prop guns. But at least in this sense, I've also heard from VFX artists, visual effects artists, saying that we are so good already with our technology that we can make any gun look like it's real, that it's really shooting with the smoke or what have you, with the flash. And so why not incorporate it now? The tech is here. Why not use it?
Spend the money on spend the money on post. Spend the money on making it look real in post, so that we stop shooting camera people. Okay, this is just it just seems so odd to me. And so the latest on that investigation with Helena Hutchins, his death on the set of Rust, is now the head armorer, through her lawyers, is claiming that it must have been sabotage, that someone must have intentionally put a live round into that gun. Now, I don't know where that's going to head. Obviously, we're following the investigation, but what was your reaction to that very serious claim?
Yeah, that's a big leap. That's a big allegation, and I think, again, it is also still in the investigative phase right now, so potentially any option, you have to keep that door open as a potential reason of what happened. However, it sounds like the main person who was in charge of firearm safety messed up and is now throwing this allegation, this kind of like a conspiracy theory out there to see if it sticks. Now, if it was somebody else on set, if it was the director, if it was Alec Baldwin, and they had some suspicion to think it must have been sabotage, then you can argue those people are not directly in line of being responsible for what happened. However, the armorer is the first person, as well as the assistant director. And so it sounds, at face value, like somebody who's grasping for straws, trying to see what sticks to the wall.
Right.
So
and it's also unprovable. It's not provable in any way. They're continuing their investigation, but they found dummy rounds along with live rounds on set, which is a big no-no. There's not supposed to be any live rounds anywhere. So, and who is responsible? That is the armorer. So where did those live rounds come from? It could have easily slipped in. So, yeah, it seems to me to be a shirking of responsibility and trying to pass the buck and, just trying to save your own skin. But, it remains to be seen. I don't know how they could ever prove something like that.
Yeah, you have to look at you have to see how bad the alleged negligence on set really was. And as you mentioned, they found live rounds near where dummy rounds were also found. There are also reports that there were crew members who were actually using that gun and other guns for target practice, just for fun. And so then the mystery of why were there real bullets here? Well, the clear answer was somebody brought them. Somebody from the crew obviously brought them. And why were they stored? That's a whole other question near dummy rounds. And so, yeah, we are still in the investigative stage of this. Alec Baldwin, he was stopped by some paparazzi in Vermont, where his family's kind of hunkering down for the moment to try to get away from stuff. And he says he can't talk about any part of the investigation. However, he will say that he has been in contact with Helena Hutchins' husband, family, and he's cooperating with the investigation. But it's going to be we're definitely interesting to see who this, where the buck stops on this, whose fault was it, why it happened, and then now we're seeing the evolution of the industry reacting to it. So, yeah.
Right. Well, James, we want to get you on a safe set where there will be no accidents, but maybe, some equally grim content here. There is a big movie coming to the Boston area, coming to the New England region, and there's a big casting call in this weekend and the next weekend for the Boston Strangler. Now, do you know anything about the real-life Boston Strangler? Okay, so that was the name given to the serial killer who allegedly, or maybe not allegedly, or who is responsible for the murder of 13 women in and around Boston during the 1960s. So they eventually caught the guy, he confessed, and his DNA was linked to at least the final victim, but not necessarily all of the victims. Anyhow, Boston Strangler movie is going to be filming through the winter here, through February. It is going to be starring Keira Knightley, which is exciting. So Keira Knightley is going to be playing Loretta McLaughlin. And McLaughlin was the reporter who first broke the story, who connected the dots between all of these murders in and around the Boston area. And she did it while facing lots of sexism and lots of pushback, because nobody cared about these women. And because she was a woman herself, it didn't seem to matter. So that's going to be a really interesting film, a really interesting exploration of everything that happened there with that story. So right now they are casting background extras. So this weekend, Saturday, the 6th, November 6th, depending on when you're listening to this, is going to be the union casting call, James. So if you are a SAG-AFTRA member, on Saturday the 6th, you can go down to Quincy. Billy Dowd Casting is in charge of this. And it's going to be an in-person casting call. If you want to be in this movie, you need to get up off the couch, print a picture, print out an acting resume, and head down to go meet Billy Dowd in Braintree. It's 355 Wood Road, Braintree, between 9 and 4 p.m. He's old school, man. He's old school. He does not do email. He doesn't do any of that, fancy technology.
You have to go knock on his door, shake his hand, look him in the eye.
That's right. He's got to get a feel for your handshake. He's got to see, what you can bring to the picture. Maybe you could end up being one of the dead bodies. Who knows? This is an excellent opportunity. So
the
Billy
role
Dowd
was to
casting.
die for.
Exactly, James.
Yeah.
So SAG-AFTRA members this weekend, and non-union casting call will most likely be the weekend that follows. We'll go ahead and tweet out the details when we get that information. But this is a really exciting chance to be a part of a big film with Keira Knightley. and also something that has local significance here in the Boston area where we are based.
Well, speaking about another big film, there is also casting for feature film opportunity. Boston Casting. They're looking for high school and college-aged male actors. This is shooting sometime in the winter of next year, so 2022. It is shooting in the Boston area. Pays just over $1,000 per day. But yeah, if you are a high school, college-aged actor and you are either a teenage boy or a young man, please submit your following information, including headshots, acting resume, contact information, and where you're based. Send all that to Boston Casting Submit, the number 5 at gmail.com, Boston Casting Submit 5 at gmail.com.
And Boston Casting is working on a number of projects right now. There's I Wanna Dance With Somebody, the Whitney Houston biopic that it's filming right now. There's also a movie called Salvation, James, that is about a foster kid who ends up with this family that is in a church. They're Christians who worship with snakes. It's based on a real church of people in Tennessee, right? So that's an interesting one. That's called Salvation. If you go ahead and you sign up with Boston Casting, you can look out for any and all of those castings that are coming out. But let's see, we are also looking for, Boston Casting is also looking for an athlete, dancer, or member of a club. If you are an athlete, dancer, or member of a club and you're ready to come out, or you have recently come out as LGBTQ, they want to talk to you for a new docu-series. That sounds cool. This is a paid opportunity. They want you to send a 1 to 2 minute video. Okay, we're looking at a self-tape here. A 1 to 2 minute video with your name, what sport you play, where you dance, what club you're in, and why you want to come out or why you recently came out. And you're going to send that to gamefacecasting@gmail.com.
All right. Well, I think that's all the casting that we have for this week's episode. Now tell me about this casting, because from what I hear, this potential casting in the last the Rise of Skywalker that could have changed the storyline.
That could have changed everything, apparently. That could have rewritten
that could
Star
have
Wars
righted
lore.
some wrongs.
Could it have saved The Rise of Skywalker and made it an entirely new movie? I don't know. But Matt Smith is speaking out slightly, sort of, about his role that he was supposed to be in The Rise of Skywalker. Now, there were a lot of rumors swirling around him ahead of time. And apparently he's confirming that, yes, he did have a pretty big role to play, but it ended up all getting scrapped. So Matt Smith was on a podcast recently.
And Matt Smith of Doctor Who fame?
Of Doctor Who fame, that's right. He was the 11th Doctor. And that's where he rose to fame, as the 11th Doctor of Doctor Who.
So he's had some space traveling experience.
Yes.
Because I think the Doctor traverses space. Yeah.
Yes. It would have made total sense. It would have made complete sense. But he said in a podcast, he's saying, "We were close to me being in it, but it never quite happened. I think the thing they were thinking of for me, eventually the part became obsolete." He was asked whether or not he was playing Palpatine's son, to which he said, "I couldn't possibly say, but it was a pretty groovy thing. It was a pretty groovy part and concept. It was a big story detail, like a transformative Star Wars story detail. It was big shift. It was a big shift in the history of the franchise." So I think, at least to me, it seems pretty clear that he was supposed to be either a young Palpatine or one of these Palpatine clones, maybe Rey's father, and that it could have been something more. I wish that we would have gotten more, James, than just the one line, "Oh, I'm your grandfather," to which nothing was explained. Did Palpatine have children? And then they came out later with, "No, it was a clone." But nothing is explained in the movie where it needs to be. So
Yeah.
this could have been amazing. This apparently could have been the missing piece that could have at least made it make more sense. What do you think?
Well, it could have definitely helped because, there's always the possibility that it would have helped. But what if it added more bloat? More like what if it just, added too much to The Rise of Skywalker? Because from what I remember, The Rise of Skywalker felt long. I forget the exact time length, but it felt long. And not in a good, fun way.
But it was not, yes, but it was long in the waist and not in the substance. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It was a lot of pew pew pew, and look at this cool thing that I can do with a computer. And then when it came to the actual characters interacting with each other and the actual story, it was sorely lacking. It was so bare bones that there was just no story. There was no story there. There was no connection. There was nothing satisfying about it because that's what they cut out.
Yeah.
Why would you cut there instead of cutting out the space battles and I want to know more about why Palpatine returned. Don't give me the one line, somehow Palpatine has returned. That doesn't do anything for me, James. I wanted more of the connection between Rey and Kylo Ren. I'm the one who I'm the only one who understands you, and more of that psychological relationship between these two opposing forces and what it means to the greater force. Like, just the substance of the story was lacking. It was barely there, and I feel like this could have only helped because what we got left us with nothing. It left us with nothing. You don't understand the story. You don't feel anything for the characters. There was no feeling. There was no heart. Okay? It's like the heart was left out. I'm sorry, I'm being a little bit overdramatic, but the heart was left out. The story was left out. So I wanted more character story. That's all.
Yeah,
That's all.
It's funny to think because The Rise of Skywalker is the only Star Wars movie that I've only seen once. And I was not a fan of The Last Jedi. However, I've seen The Last Jedi at least twice, but I believe 3 times. Each trying to give it like a second chance and trying to give it with new eyes and trying to okay, maybe I did go in with the wrong mindset and I didn't like what I saw. Maybe I need to open my mind and just see where the story takes me. I still did not like The Last Jedi, even after the second and third time watching it. However, The Rise of Skywalker, I disliked it so much that I have had no urge to watch it again, even just to poke fun or even, to groan or cringe again. So it's amazing to think.
Ditto.
I've seen Solo more than once, and Solo, I purposely didn't watch in the theaters, not because I was boycotting it, that they made it, or for whatever, even though it seemed like a cash grab. I just felt like it was just, one Star Wars movie right after the last one, and The Last Jedi left a bad taste in my mouth, and so I wasn't eager to jump into the next movie. I've seen Solo more times than I've seen The Rise of Skywalker, and Solo, to be fair, is a good Star Wars movie, but
it is a good movie.
Yeah, it's just disappointing what they did to The Rise of Skywalker, what they did to the trilogy, and not happy. Let us know how unhappy you are with The Rise of Skywalker and what Matt Smith could have done, potentially done, to save the final movie. But
yes, we needed the doctor. This movie needed a doctor. That's for sure.
Well, speaking of doctors and what needs a doctor to save this movie, I'm trying to transition to what we're watching. And I watched this movie, and I didn't watch it when it came out, but I had heard the buzz around it, and I had heard only good things. I heard it was a fun movie, it was a good movie, and I just never got around to it. I figured it's one of those good movies I'll just never get to. And it's as good as it gets with Jack Nicholson. Have you seen that movie?
Oh gosh, I tried to watch it, but his character was so unlikable that I really couldn't get through it. But I wonder what you think.
There are many movies where the main characters are flawed, but you root for them. There's some endearing character trait that makes you want to, see them live a happy life at the end of the film. every main character in As Good as It Gets, they're deeply troubled, deeply flawed. They're not good together. I think the movie teaches wrong things about relationships and about settling. There's so many things wrong with As Good as It Gets that even my fiance, who recommended watching it, she has second thoughts about, hindsight's 2020. At the time, it seems like, oh, okay, Jack Nicholson. I'm not going to get into the whole, it's an old movie. I'm sure you've seen it or heard about it by now. But the character was very hard to like. There are no redeeming characters in that, and again, I thought it was just it taught very inappropriate ways to have a relationship with other people.
Yeah.
So As Good as It Gets, these years later, don't watch it if you haven't watched it yet.
So it gets better. It gets better than that. It's not as good as it gets. This movie is not. So
no, it never got good.
I couldn't get past that. I couldn't get past it. But I've been watching something a lot more fun than that, James. Still a little bit borderline, some social issues. But we were watching Ghostbusters 2. From 1989. My son and I, we watched the first one, and then I was showing him the second one. And you know what? For as ridiculous as it was a solid movie.
Nice.
I really enjoyed it. It held up. It really held up. The second Ghostbusters is when they're fighting the ooze, the slime that's running under the city.
And there's like this Duke
because of the painting.
In a painting, yeah.
Yeah. The Carpathian guy, Vigil, the Carpathian in the painting that takes the baby and all of that, and they kidnap the Statue of Liberty and walk it through New York City in order to get into the museum and save the baby, and everyone's singing. And what I really love about this movie is that it's just so happy and joyful, and it brings people together, and I dig it. However, the whole Statue of Liberty thing is so stupid. It's so ridiculous. They end up just breaking through the glass at the top of the building and rappelling down to save the baby, right? They could have broken the glass with something. Why'd you have to go all the way over into the river and get the statue and walk it all the way back? And then they show a shot of the Statue of Liberty. They show a shot of the Statue of Liberty at the end, back on its pedestal, and you see how high that pedestal is. There's no way that thing didn't just walk off, it took a step and then just fall head first into the ocean. There's no way. There's no way it didn't just break in half. There's no way they made it. But whatever. It's just a stupid fun movie, and it holds up.
Yeah, but a lot of times the sequel doesn't match up or doesn't exceed expectations of the first one. How would you rank it though? Ghostbusters 1 or 2 on top?
I think I liked Ghostbusters 2 better. There are definitely different pros and cons to each. But just for my taste, I liked Ghostbusters 2 better. And the first one is just, it's all, both of them are all nostalgia, but for me it's 2 and then 1.
All right, so our recommendation, watch Ghostbusters 1 and 2. Do not watch As Good as It Gets, starring Jack Nicholson. That does not hold up. That does not get as good as Ghostbusters 1 or 2. But let us know what you're watching. What should we be watching? I know that coming up we have some screeners, including Red Rocket, House of Gucci, starring Lady Gaga, and Being the Ricardos.
Ooh, I can't wait to see that.
Yeah, Being the Ricardos is the I Love Lucy biopic starring Nicole Kidman as Lucy.
Ooh.
So we're going to check that out, bring those reviews to you. But thank you so much for coming and watching this show. If you are listening to us, thank you so much. Again, you can listen to us on any major podcasting streaming service, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. And if you're watching us on YouTube, thank you very much. Subscribe, hit like, hit that share button, and follow us on all the social medias. But for the Hub on Hollywood, I'm James.
I'm Jamie. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.